Hello there folks, just out for a little walk today. It's one of those days. Weather's a little bit dull, I don't know whether it's because of that. Just feel a bit like, don't know what to do with myself today. You know them days you get. You know, I tend to lead life by desire. And when desire runs out, then pragmatism. You know, it's said in the spirituality that you know, you should remove yourself of all desires and emotions and fear and all of this. I mean, I was talking the last few weeks about selfishness versus altruism. You know, having a vested interest in yourself rather than constantly expecting something from others and telling others what to do, dishing out advice, thinking you know better. We all do it. You know, we all meddle with other people's lives. I mean, I'm meddling making videos like this. But that is one reason why I made these videos, is so that people don't have to watch them and then I don't have to speak all of this stuff over and over again. Desire, you know. Years ago when I was a little kid, I had a look at Zen Buddhism. I'd heard about like God and Jesus and all of that lot. Born in England, Church of England religion, I suppose. And Buddhism, I kind of picked up two Zen parables, Zen wisdoms. One was something along the lines of, if you want nothing, you get everything. And the other one was, follow no one and you will reach infinite heights. And I thought they're two really good things, but when I saw Buddhists then all dressed in orange and shaved heads and stuff, I thought, you know, there's not a lot of individuality in that. You know, to want nothing, hang on a sec, I understood it differently. You know, they've got rid of everything. That's not what I thought. I thought you can still have things around you and not have to want them. You can buy something and not want it. You know, about not being affected with desire. I'm not really affected by desire. I'm just affected by the lack of it. You know, obviously, for example, if you want some chocolate, you know, you desire some chocolate. We're taught as a kid, oh, only have to one piece. What, you know, it's greedy. But if you, as a kid, you was just given a whole load of chocolate and they said, just to eat as much as you can, you would start to understand greed better. You would start to understand that even if you was a millionaire, all the chocolate wouldn't buy, you know, all the money in the world wouldn't buy the chocolate. You know, it's still too much chocolate for your stomach. So what I mean is greed's got its limits too, I think. Anyway, desire, you know, desire, what's desire? You know, the feeling that you want something, you know, this longing for something. And I think to myself, all animals, all living things run off desire, sheer desire. You know, cats and dogs, I mean, look at a dog. Okay, it'll follow the master, but it'll still follow its own desire. It'll eat what it likes to eat, it'll follow its desire. Same as a cat, it will follow its desire. It doesn't sit there and read a book, what's good for me and what medicines and stuff. When it gets ill, its desires change. You know yourself how when you get a little bit down and you suddenly need something really salty, or you need something really spicy or something. That's desire, you know. When you eat plants from the forest, the taste should be desirable. And that's how we should know what to eat. Obviously through eating loads of like fast food junk and all this acidic stuff that we buy because of the packets mostly, because of the colourful packaging. That's really messed up our taste buds. That's really messed up our sense of desire. But when we get back to true desire, and this is my path really, you could call it a spiritual path, but I don't know, I'm getting sick of spirituality and all of that lot, you know, it was okay. But now the words are just overused, you know, mostly the spiritual people are just wrapped up in the definitions, spiritual definitions, talking to each other like they're not enlightened and talking to the rest of the human race like they're all a bunch of asleep people, when it's not the case, you know. Even those who are asleep don't know how awake they are, and those who think they're awake don't realise how asleep they are. You know, I mean, I'm not saying I'm awake or asleep. I'm just saying that you know, this paradigm of being awake or asleep is wrong. You know, we're all awake and all asleep at different times in the day, and not just physical sleep. But back to desire. You know, if you get onto a level where you only desire the things that you want to desire, and you're not desiring things out of habit or addiction, then you can start to control your addictions and desires. You know, it's like spiritual gurus say, oh, you know, free yourself from emotion and then desire. But then you become, as you know, to be quite honest, all the spiritual gurus I know and the people who are leading up to spirituality or getting into religion or Christianity lose a certain amount of humour, lose a certain amount of glow. They become like kind of sullen, gloomy, grievous. Oh Lord. So in that way, you know, I'm not saying all spiritual people, but a hell of a lot of spiritual people just get sucked into the definitions, you know. And I've put a little series of videos on here to try and undo some of the anomalies, because a lot of the spiritual teachings are correct, but there's one anomaly in them all, or one or two, you know. One of them, that's like the understanding of desire and emotion. Emotions there, you know, the mind, really. When we're talking about consciousness and the mind and stuff, it's pretty easy. Learn, think, reason. You know, it isn't like, you know, we've got an imagination like a cinema screen for weird pictures, but generally the mind's like a computer. We don't need to fantasize the mind. You know, most of the mind is a calculator. You know, so we don't need to come up with wacky words or like outlandish like descriptions of stuff. You know, life is pretty practical in my eyes. You know, there's only a bit of unknown. It's always there, and I love the mystery. But mostly the mind does. The mind is enough. You know, so when we're talking about being awake or asleep, you know, the mind is neither. You know, it's just where you focus your attention. It depends on whether you're asleep or awake at that moment. But desire, you know, all these spiritual lot saying, oh, you know, self-respect and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. Well, I just say fuck off, you know, in such words, because the spiritual lot are all expecting each other to stop swearing and don't blaspheme against our God. You know, it's this thing about this collective God. It's not, that's why I don't use the word God, because it's bollocks. You know, every single person is a God. Every single person is a divine human being with powers beyond our comprehension. Every fucking human being on the planet is a wonderful being. But if I cover your eyes and ears up, then you're not going to see anything. And that's kind of pretty obvious, you know. You'll be able to feel, and then the rules change. But all this spiritual, trying to get to the top, the race for consciousness, you know, enlightenment and all of that lot, it's just crap, really. You know, if you're not in it for the practical side, in it for the usage, you know, the ability to train your eyes and to train your hearing and to train the way you walk and to train your breathing, it makes perfect sense. But as soon as you start getting so headed about it, so mindful and thoughtful about everything you do, it isn't spirituality, because spirit is in the gut. Spirit. I have got big spirit. I am spirited. Yes, I am spirited. And I've got a big heart. You know, so we've got mind, heart, spirit and body. It's pretty damn easy. You know, why do we have to make spirit over there? You know, why do we have to have spirit somewhere else? I can't see spirit. I can't see God. I can only see myself on my inside. And I can maybe see others glowing. But at the end of the day, there's no such thing as this external force who's like made everybody and then sitting there listening to us. That is a dangerous thought. And if you're telling that to people, or people are telling that to you, that is dangerous. And that's why I say, let people have the gods and that they want. and just don't listen. If you tuned into my channel for empowerment, then I'm saying don't listen to me. Well, listen, but don't take the words on board without thinking about them. If someone tells you not to do something, think about why you maybe should do that. Anyway, I'm going to stop this video there, because I might do another one again in a minute about authority and who's above you and who's below you. Because we like to get our rankings in this society, in this statist society, this pyramid system. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and follow your desire. Follow your desire until it's painful. But don't listen to me. So if you want, just follow the government or follow a God. But I say don't. Follow desire. Follow your desire, not my desire or anyone else's desire. No one can tell you what to desire, except for the adverts on TV. And maybe, yeah, alright then. I'm just going to leave that one there. Say thanks for watching and listening. Thanks for your attention. See you later.